Committed to bringing you fresh news on our local and international maritime trade, this is Nimasa This Week. Hello and welcome. My name is Iresiola Duel. Once again, the International Maritime Organization's media office has obliged us with a short feature on ship recycling. We present this feature to you now alongside additional reports from our studios.
What's the best thing to do with a ship at the end of its lifetime? Abandon it, sink it. As far as the environment is concerned, the best solution by far is to recycle it, and that makes economic sense too. Not just for ship owners, but also for the communities where ship recycling has become so important. Almost every part of a ship can be recycled, from the steel of its hull to the machinery, equipment, fittings, and even the furnitures inside it. Recycled steel is far cheaper than smelting iron ore to make new steel. It requires less power and results in fewer harmful emissions. Industrial units and even villages can be powered using ship generators. Ships recycling provides direct and secondary employment for thousands of workers both in the industry itself and in the market for materials and components that have been generated by it. Almost all the world's ships recycling today is carried out in 5 countries: Turkey, China, Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. And it is these 3 South Asian countries, Bangladesh in particular, could have become the focus of global efforts to improve global standards in what is a vital industry for them and for shipping. While ship recycling makes sense for economic, social, and environmental reasons, working practices and environmental standards in recycling yards often leave much to be desired. In some instances, the process is relatively crude. Ships are driven hard into a beach and then physically taken apart by gangs of manual workers and sometimes controversial practices known as beaching. In May 2009, IMO adopted the Hong Kong International Convention for Safe and Environmentally Sound Recycling of Ships. When the Hong Kong Convention enters into force, it will provide inclusive and effective standards that can be applied universally. It places responsibilities and obligations on all parties concerned: ship owners, recycling facilities, flag states, and recycling state, through workshops, training, and other similar projects. The convention addresses all issues involved in ship recycling, noting that ships to be scrapped contains environmentally hazardous substances like asbestos, heavy metals, hydrocarbons, ozone-depleting substances, among others. It also addressed the working and environmental conditions at many of the world's ship recycling yards. Although Nigeria is yet to domesticate the Hong Kong Convention, the country can effectively implement and enforce the convention as a proactive measure to check the ship recycling activities in line with the powers conferred on the agency and the provisions of Part X of the Nimasa Act 2007 and Section 328 1 and 2 of the Merchant Shipping Act 2007. IMO is currently working with the developing countries and the other recycling countries to help build the capacity and establish conditions that will enable them to ratify the Hong Kong Convention. But this is a complex issue, often involving many different industries and industry groups. The Hong Kong Convention does not prohibit the practice of beaching that will destroy the industry in developing economy, but it will enable recycling countries to improve environmental standards and conditions to workers in a realistic and achievable manner. And perhaps more importantly, the Hong Kong Conventions allow for future improvements, providing a platform and an avenue for even better regulation in due course of an activity that is the economic lifeblood of many communities in South Asia and other developing countries. Nimasa is the focal point of the implementation of the IMO Convention in Nigeria, and pending the domestication of the Hong Kong Convention in Nigeria, a stopgap measure in regulating the activities of ship recycling, ship scrapping has been developed by the Nimasa Marine Environmental Management Department, and as a result, ship recycling facilities and ship owners are to seek for permits from the agency before embarking on any form of ship breakage.
We shall continue with our Waste to Wealth theme as we bring you a report on a ship recycling facility. Our production consultant, Mr. Patrick Doyle, visited this facility, which is situated in Kirikiri, Lagos. Here's his report.
Somewhere in Kirikiri town in the outskirts of Lagos, along the banks of the Kirikiri Canal, a ship recycling facility is located. Ship recycling or ship breaking is a process where ships that have come to the end of their productive lives are brought to be, in a sense, dismantled, and the scrap metal derived from breaking the ship is collected and transported to steel mills for recycling. However, the entire process is not without hazards to the marine environment where the shipbreaking takes place, but also to the men who undertake the arduous task of breaking the ship. It is for this reason that such an operation must be regulated. Nimasa, as Nigeria's Maritime Administration, ever mindful of its mandate, has come up with the necessary guidelines to regulate the practice.
The ship owner applies to the Maritime Administration, Nimasa, for scrapping permit. Hitherto, Nigeria didn't have well-equipped facilities for ship breaking. But Nimasa, as the Maritime Administration, being proactive, now went ahead to look for facilities that carry out scrapping, and a number of them were identified. So when these ships are ready for breaking, they are directed towards to these facilities to carry out the scrapping exercise. And it requires the owner, there are some requirements which we have put in place that they must meet to protect the environment and to protect the workers that are carrying out the scrapping exercise.
Having regard to the sensitive nature of the practice of shipbreaking and its potential dangers, Nimasa does not just issue guidelines and regulations and then goes to sleep hoping that its guidelines and regulations will be adhered to.
Maritime Administrator, which is Nimasa, now sticks its personnel on ground from beginning to the end of scrapping of such vessels. Periodic reports are made to the management that the scrappers meet Nimasa's requirements for scrapping. So the Nimasa personnel are on ground from beginning to the end of the exercise to make sure that the environment is not polluted, that the workers are well taken care of, and we're here from A to Z. We monitor and send our reports to the management periodically.
Nimasa, being a member of the International Maritime Organization, carefully modeled the guidelines and regulations against international best practices. The agency sits on a very sensitive committee of the International Maritime Organization related to marine environment management, and as such is expected to prioritize the sustainability of the marine environment.
We have requirements which are fashioned out from the Hong Kong Convention. That is the IMO Convention that applies to ship scrapping. Nimasa, we have built a regulation based on the Hong Kong Convention, and all ramifications of the ship breaking are covered there. They start from the ship scrapping facility, that is ship scrapping yard. They have to meet requirements set up by the Hong Kong Convention, and now the ship scrapping plan of the vessel too. They have to meet those requirements. So Nimasa has very strong regulations which are gotten from international conventions by the IMO, which is the Hong Kong Convention. So these are the requirements that the ship scrapping and those scrapping the vessel must meet to protect the marine environment and to protect the workers that partake in scrapping of such vessels.
Ship recycling or ship breaking as a process does not just end with the decimation of the vessel. The scrap metal in itself is of no value until the cycle is completed.
When the vessels have been scrapped, the product, that is the end product, the materials that are being received from the scrapping yard are taken to the foundries for smelting into iron sheets, billets, and iron rods. In Lagos presently, we have about 13 foundries. We also have 3 in Calabar, we have one at Oshogbo, and about 6 in Abeokuta, that is Ogun State.
Ship scrapping is a relatively new business in Nigeria, as the bulk of ship breaking globally takes place in India, Pakistan and Bangladesh. However, the practice is growing in Nigeria with the guidance of Nimasa.
These facilities are located in Lagos here, which has the highest number of scrapping activities, and in the Niger Delta, in Calabar precisely, they have a developed ship scrapping yard. Although we have various small-scale facilities, but we are in the process of advising them how to equip them to be more environmentally sustainable in scrapping of such vessels.
Our visit to the ship recycling facility here in Kirikiri, Lagos will not be complete without us taking you, our viewers, on a guided tour. So come along now as we follow our tour guides from the Marine Environment Management Department of Nimasa.
These 2 containers are used to store waste oil and bilge water. The oil collected here, when they are full, they are transported to their various factories. They are used to fuel their generating plant and to oil their textile factory. So the oil is not wasted, it's recycled. These 2 containers here, they collect the waste oil, bilge water, and any other oily waste are all collected here. None is wasted.
We are inside the ship recycling facility gas plant. In this gas plant, oxygen is being produced for usage in combination with acetylene to cut the vessel iron metals and sheets. That is what is being used to cut the vessel. Oxygen is being trapped through the condenser and is being channeled through these pipes to these cylinders. These cylinders are the receptors of the oxygen that will be used for ship recycling purposes.
This is where scrap metal is being calibrated and weighed for onward evacuation to whoever the end receiver would be. This is the weigh bridge.
That is the winch. It is being used at the recycling plant to pull the vessel in and secure it. As it's being cut, because it's being cut in bits, whenever a bit is cut, it will pull it off to the shoreline where it will be picked by the crane.
We continue on our update this week on the guideline on the implementation and governance of the International Ship and Port Facility Security ISPS Code. Here is the concluding part for the requirements of a Port Facility Security Officer under the ISPS Code. The validity of any Port Facility Security Officer qualification is 5 years, counted from the date of issue of the original certificate. The validity could be extended when accompanied with evidence showing that the holder has been in service as a Port Facility Security Officer or a Deputy Port Security Officer of a designated port facility for at least 12 months in the preceding 5-year period. To fully implement the ISPS Code and the National Baseline Standard, it is also a statutory requirement for port facilities, especially floating production, storage and offloading facilities (FPSOs), to designate and engage watchkeepers on board their facility. Watchkeepers are skilled security personnel well grounded in security matters who can work together with the port security to develop and progressively review the overall security for designated offshore platform as it pertains to ISPS code implementation. Join us next week as we continue to update you on the ISPS code and the responsibilities of Nimasa as the designated authority in subsequent episodes of the program. For more information, visit www.nimasa.gov.ng.
Once again this week, we went trawling through our mailbox to put together what we have termed the most frequently asked questions and comments. Here's Amanda Akpan, our field correspondent, as she takes us through them.
Our first frequently asked question for this week is: what are the categories of ships that qualify to be registered by the Nigerian Ship Registry? S.A. Abdulsalam, the Registrar of Ships at Nimasa, was kind enough to answer the question.
Basically, what we do is we register vessels, vessels owned by Nigerians. Section 17 actually states the categories of vessels we are to register: merchant ships, fishing vessels, fishing trawlers, vessels under construction, FPSOs and FSUs, and we also must have a register of vessels under license, that is vessels under 15 gross tons. So it's a Title II creation, and it's an office recognized under three principal legislations: the Merchant Shipping Act 2007, the Nimasa Act 2007, and the Cabotage Act 2003.
The second frequently asked question this week is: why was the scope of the National Seafarers Development Program expanded? Mrs. Irene McFoy, the NSDP coordinator, was in hand to provide an answer.
Initially, we were running a primary window, that is Nimasa collaborating with the states. And the candidates we've been training so far have been candidates nominated by the states. But the DG decided that there was urgency to increase the number of participants in the training, and he now requested that we should conduct a competency test. He is of the opinion that since Nimasa is going to fully sponsor this program, there is need to get the best of the best in Nigeria.
Our final frequently asked question this week is: what are the functions of the Marine Casualty Investigation Unit? Rita Eguche of the Marine Casualty Investigation Unit obliged us with an answer.
The ultimate goal of marine investigation or marine investigating accidents is to advance marine safety and protection of environment. These are the key functions of the unit: investigation, and also ensure that the environment is well protected. The operational aspect of a casualty unit comes up when the following occur: where there is a marine accident or incident involving loss of life or major injury to any person on board, and then fire, explosion, hull failure, failure of watertight doors, ports, damage to ship or equipment, capsizing or listing. In a nutshell, this is what gives rise to an investigation.
As part of our mandate to continually update you on issues within the maritime industry, here are some of the highlights of the guidelines on the implementation of the Coastal and Inland Shipping Act, otherwise known as the Cabotage Act 2003, revised in 2007. Pursuant to Section 2 of the Cabotage Act, vessels intended for use in cabotage trade are required to be registered in the applicable register for cabotage vessels and ship-owning companies engaged in cabotage. Under the Act, the Special Register for Cabotage Vessels is domiciled in the Office of the Registrar of Ships in Nimasa. The following cabotage registers have been opened in Nigerian Ship Registry. 1. Special Register for Cabotage, Nigerian Wholly Owned Vessel. 2. Special Register for Cabotage, Bareboat Chartered Vessel. 3. Special Register for Cabotage, Joint Venture Owned Vessel. 4. Special Register for Cabotage Vessel, Fully Foreign Owned Vessel. 5. Special Register for Cabotage, Exempted Vessel. It is mandatory for every vessel and shipping company engaged in coastal shipping to be registered in the relevant register. Vessels already registered in the Nigerian Ship Registry, which intends to participate in the coastal trade, must also be registered in the relevant cabotage register. Applicants should refer to the Article 6 on the general requirements, which applies to all categories of registration. We shall continue to give you updates on the guidelines for the implementation of the Coastal and Inland Shipping Act on our program next week. For more information, visit www.nimasa.gov.ng.
The Maritime Labour Department of Nimasa put together a seminar for dock workers. This week, we're going to bring you a report on one of the interesting topics that was treated at this workshop.
Nimasa once again has confirmed its commitment to ensuring the welfare of dock workers, a task that is contained in the agency's mandate. A seminar was organized last week in Apapa in Lagos for dock workers and dock labor employers, as well as other critical stakeholders, to address a very important ILO instrument on dock labor decent work agenda of 1973. One of the issues treated under the theme of the seminar was the occupational health and safety of dock workers. Dr. O.C. Nathaniel presented a paper on the subject in which he highlighted issues related to the nature of dock work, amongst other issues.
Dock work dates from the earliest civilization, and cargo handling methods remain odious and dangerous. Modification due to the introduction of containers and roll-on systems, introduction of increasing sophisticated cargo handling equipment with greatly increased capacity, high accident rates, and increased use of non-permanent workers. From the study of ILO, this job we're doing is rated as one that has high accident rates. The dock worker is not a casual worker. The casual nature is the casualizing each change gradually. By the time you are into pension, you are no longer a casual person. The registration which Nimasa has given you is a license, a monopoly that this job belongs to you. That is why it will be difficult for the employer to come and say, leave the job and go. If Nimasa is standing there, you don't have the right.
Nimasa this week later spoke with Dr. O.C. Nathaniel as well as some other participants on their views on Nimasa's role in ensuring decent work environments for dock workers in Nigeria.
Nimasa is now introducing the ILO Decent Work Program in the Nigerian seaports for the dock workers, which means that everything that has to do about safety and health hazards is what are the issues that we have elaborated on today through in this seminar. What I mean by the tripartite inspection system is that for enforcement of occupational safety and health in the ports, Nimasa will have to form what I call tripartite labor inspection regime, which comprise of Nimasa itself as government, the terminal operators and stevedoring companies as employers, and Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria on one side of the tripartite.
The ILO Convention implementing agencies in Nimasa because they are social partners in the implementation regime, the employers, the employees, and government. And Nimasa represents government in this arrangement. So Nimasa has a responsibility and in fact an obligation to ensure the full implementation of the recommendation of this convention. At the moment, Nigeria is working fully towards its implementation. For example, Nimasa is engaging all the social partners in dialogue. That was the first process. The sensitization process we have gone through today is another definite step towards the right direction. But most importantly, it's installing the regime of compliances that must be followed. There must be monitoring and enforcement of the provisions of the convention, and this has to take a step, gradual steps, but definite steps, by making sure that all the provisions are implemented and enforced.
Simply put, Nimasa is our regulator because they are in charge of maritime labor. So they are to tell us the do's and don'ts within the industries. And when you don't have your regulator talking to you, when you go wrong, you don't know what to do. Or when you do right, you don't have anybody to pat you on the back. So this is a wonderful beginning. Decent work is, as you said, is as stipulated by the ILO convention. And I'm sure most of this exposé that we've had today will really help in properly putting together a guideline that will galvanize and harness the maritime labor industry in Nigeria.
And that is our show for this week. I sincerely hope that you found this edition especially interesting and engaging. Now, don't forget, Nimasa This Week is an interactive show. Just send your comments, questions, or even your criticisms to the email address currently showing on your screen. Now, I'm going to be here same time, same station next week. Until then, I'm wishing you smooth sailing and bon voyage.